The time is 6 p.m., so we'll go ahead and get started. It is Tuesday, March 7th. This is the Norwood City School District Committee meeting. So we'll go ahead and get started. Mrs. Camphouse, if you would call the roll, please.
Mr. Atwood.
Present.
Ms. Ballard is absent. Mrs. Rarica.
Present.
Mr. Taylor.
Present.
Mrs. Cole.
Present. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 3 on the agenda, we have the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as written?
I'll motion to adopt the agenda as written.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse?
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes. Okay, with that adopted, we'll move on. Item 4, these are our discussion items. And 4.01, we have Principal Ms. Teresa Booth here with an update on the Norwood Montessori schools. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Ms. Booth.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. Good evening. I am Teresa Booth, and it is both an honor and privilege to serve as principal of the Norwood Montessori School. At this time, I will share some key components of Montessori education, along with an enrollment update, information regarding achievement and curriculum, as well as some highlights of the first year of our expansion. Maria Montessori believed the greatest gifts we can give our children are the roots of responsibility and the wings of independence. Montessori classrooms include credentialed staff, multi-age students, hands-on materials, choice, and self-pacing. Enrollment in preschool through grade 2 continues to grow, which is very exciting for all of us. Current enrollment for the 22-23 school year includes 50 students. With board approval, we plan on adding a grade level each year until we reach the full level of preschool through grade 5. As you can see on the bar graph, 92% of our currently enrolled students are planning to return for the upcoming 23-24 school year. This was a recent photo from a kindergarten parent meeting. We place a high priority on parent engagement, and by involving our parents, we are better able to meet the needs of our children. We have recently surveyed our parents, which included 4 key questions. Our scale was based on a 1 to 5 rating. As you can see by the responses, we are rated as above average or excellent in all areas. These areas include overall satisfaction with the educational experience at the Norwood Montessori School, satisfaction with the level of communication from classroom teachers, satisfaction with the level of communication from administration, and overall satisfaction with arrival and dismissal procedures. So as we look at academic performance on this graph, we are featuring Ames Web data, which represents students in our kindergarten class. We notice that the cones indicate 3 levels. Green represents proficiency in Tier 1, and for students who are in Tier 2, these are students that are in need of additional support. And for students who are represented in red, they will receive intense interventions. With the growth that we are currently seeing, students are on track for excellent spring results. So let's take a closer look at the curriculum in a Montessori classroom. Montessori education is directly aligned with the Ohio Learning Standards. Writing and reading. Montessorians learn to write before they learn to read. They are taught letters and letter sounds and then use a movable alphabet to construct words. Once students master the skills associated with producing letters and words, reading naturally comes as the next step. Book buddies. This has been a very exciting addition to our school year. Norwood High School honor students take time to read to our kindergarten and first grade students each week. We love seeing our primary and secondary students come together to share their love of reading. Practical life. Students engage in purposeful activities which develop motor control, coordination, concentration, independence, and a sense of responsibility. Mathematics and geometry. Montessorians use a wide variety of uniquely designed materials made for specific learning outcomes. Students use the materials to build concrete knowledge that will ultimately build a foundation for learning more complex abstract concepts in the future. Our cultural curriculum includes science, social studies, geography, history, which then leads very directly into our nature space. The Norwood Montessori School Garden Project includes an outdoor learning space which has been created in partnership with our students, staff, families, and the Cincinnati Nature Center. Over 100 native flowering plants are included. PBIS. As part of the Norwood City School District, we remain committed to implementing positive behavioral interventions and supports. Students are recognized weekly for their efforts in demonstrating peace throughout the day. Their name is announced on the PA, photographs are taken, and PAC certificates are awarded to students for being such wonderful leaders and role models in their class. During the course of our school year, we have had 91% zero office referrals submitted for review. As you can see from our calendar of events, we value a strong partnership with our families, which includes an especially strong parent-teacher organization. Our parents are deeply invested in the education of their child and committed to supporting our growing school. In the recent parent survey, which was referenced a few minutes ago, a couple of parents commented, "Thankful for this growing community and for the intentionality you put into teaching my child." Another parent added, It truly feels like a small neighborhood school, which, as Norwood residents, is a blessing." Thank you from the Norwood Montessori School, and at this time I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Ms. Booth?
That looks like it's at the Cincinnati Nature Center.
It is. We're growing and we're very excited.
Teresa, you told me you had to add a second another section of preschool.
Yes.
Because of the demand.
The demand was high. We announced, and again, of course, always with board approval, but we announced that we were going to need that additional preschool classroom, and it virtually filled up quite quickly. Announced on a Monday and full by Friday of last week. So.
Wow.
Yay. I love how the older kids are coming over. That's one of my favorite things about having younger kids in that middle school building, filling up that space. There is the opportunity for collaboration in all kinds of ways. And I heard you have a new one coming up with the orchestra.
Yes. So it is. It's very exciting, and the parents have been wonderful. To your point about the high school students being involved with our younger students, one of the staff members, Karen Smith, who's involved with bringing her high schoolers over each week, she mentioned that there were some of the high schoolers that are interested in service and would like to come and assist when we have our parent-teacher meetings to help supervise the children. So that was very exciting to hear that.
Free child care is always excellent.
Well, it just makes sense. You hear now about like daycares being like in retirement homes or, nursing. It just makes sense. It makes sense for everybody.
Well, and it's truly a win-win for all. I think that the high school students they get just as much out of it as our youngest learners. So that's a real positive.
Any other questions? Okay, all right. Thank you for coming.
All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on in the agenda, number 5, this is personnel, superintendent recommendations. So I will turn it over to Superintendent Mrs. Ronan.
Oh, thank you, Madam President. Under resignation, we do have Student Assistant Aide, Carrie Wade. Gosh, I think she's been with us 9 years, so she'll be missed. She's moving on to other employment. Then under 5.02 employment, we have 2 of our administrators whose contracts are up, and we're putting them through for another 3 years. Item number 2, that is Coach Money, who we met last month. Of this, we now have his transcripts and everything, and so we are hiring him as an elementary teacher for next year. Number 3, one of our teachers has asked for a child care leave. Item number 4, these are pupil activity contracts for spring sports, and also Avenues for Success Club leaders for after-school activities. And item number 5 is a correction, a change in status. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Ronan. Item 6, this is the Education Committee, and I will turn it over to Mrs. Rarigan.
Why, thank you, Madam President. We have some field trips coming up. Norwood Middle School and High School softball teams going to the University of Kentucky in Lexington. Sharpsburg 5th graders going to Green Acres, one of my favorite places. And the show choir competition having their final competition at Fairfield High School. And then we have OSBA Southwest Spring and Fall Conferences attendance that Amber goes to. I don't have any other information on there, so that's all I know.
We're just approving those in a group. So she would like to go to any of the spring and fall conferences rather than having to approve it every time, each time.
Are there any other board members that would like to go? Alice, would you like to go with her?
Maybe. I think it's right after spring break. And I was like,
But if we do it for both the
Doesn't
spring
mean
and the
have to.
fall,
Yeah.
I say,
oh, I definitely want to go to some others.
Okay. I'll put your name on there too.
I know. There was one in February I wanted to go to, but everybody kept getting sick.
Tis the season. Any other discussion on that? Okay. All right, moving on. Item 7, this is the Policy Committee, and I will turn over to Vice President Taylor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm actually going to turn it over to Mrs. Jessup.
Okay, thank you, Vice President Taylor. We just have one board policy for your consideration this evening. It's the notification of meetings policy BDDA, and it's an update to a policy that we currently have. And in this policy, you have to have a reasonable method that a person would find out the time, location of all regularly scheduled meetings or any special meetings. So our changes to the policy offer just that, a specific time and a consistent time and location where someone could find that. They recommended the website. The website is the most logical answer for us. So we have, if you go to our website and go under board meetings and you click board meetings, it will show up the board, all the dates, the times, and the location. And if there are any changes, that's where we would guarantee that that information would be provided. We would try to do it in additional spots, but that would always be our one-time guarantee. So this policy reflects that you can always bank on us having it in one certain spot. And it is an OSBA recommendation that seems reasonable to embrace. So that's all for this evening. Thank you.
All right, moving right along in the agenda, item 8, this is Building and Grounds Committee. Ms. Ballard is not here, but I don't see anything listed there anyway, so we'll just go ahead and move on to number 9. This is the Finance Committee, so I will turn it over to our treasurer, Mrs. Camphouse.
Thank you, Madam President. House Bill 1, the proposed bill to reorganize both payment of real estate taxes and income taxes in the state of Ohio, is being discussed today in a second hearing in the House and Ways and Means Committee. We've had some further clarification on how this bill, if passed, would affect public schools and how it would affect homeowners. The effects to both are not good, and I'm hopeful that the bill will never leave the Ways and Means Committee. The biennial budget is being discussed also in the House. I think the number is House Bill 10, where it will be considered and changed, probably. Then the bill will go to the Senate for their deliberation and further changes. Finally, it will be discussed in conference committee and must be passed by June 30th, or funding for next year will be delayed for public schools. The biennial budget is the state of Ohio's budget, and this budget will affect public school funding. One item in the governor's budget that we are hoping to see change is to update reimbursement funding on staffing. Right now, the staffing funding level is determined by using data that is 5 years old and not relevant to how much it costs to staff a school. The current governor's data will be 6 and 7 years old for the future biennium. Hopefully the House or the Senate will change this rule. On the agenda, the financial reports, CFO report, and change order listings are attached for your review. 9.02, the appropriation resolution, our current budget. 9.03, cash transfers. Our cash account for severance is negative currently, and I also need to prepare for upcoming retirement severance payments. Depending on how many staff members decide to use the super severance we passed last month, will determine if I need to do a further transfer beyond this $200,000. Also, we are transferring playoff remaining funds to the athletic fund. Per OHSAA guidelines, we must use a separate fund for playoffs to account for revenues and expenses. But then after the games are over, the remaining amount can be transferred to the athletic fund, and that is what we're asking to do for that $11,723. 9.04, Hamilton County DD contract, a contract for next year to provide IEP services to students that qualify. 9.05, approval of quote for security updates. And I'm sure you've noticed the quote is not attached. Last month I had to pull a security contract off of the agenda. The quote to further tighten exterior door security came in way too high. We've decided to purchase the equipment needed for the updates from the K-12 school safety grant and are collecting quotes from the appropriate vendors. We should have the quotes by next week, and I expect them to be in the $250,000 range. The district will then act as general contractor and will secure electricians and security personnel to install the equipment, although our maintenance and technology staff will be called upon to help as well. We have been told that the labor costs were really inflated in the original quote as the vendors were from outside of the local area. So we're hoping by using local electricians and security personnel, we'll get those costs down. And then if our staff can do some of the work also, that will further reduce our costs. 9.06, elementary beautification project, advertisement of bids. After this is approved next week, we will start the advertisement of bids. This is the beginning of the process to select the general contractor for the beautification exterior work at each elementary building, for the roof replacements for View and Williams, and the boilers at the high school. Finally, 9.07, a new account and a fundraising account for middle school baseball. And that is all I have for finance.
Thank you, Mrs. Kingpass. All right, item 10, we are at adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned, 6:20. Thank you.
I was just all for